All right, let's talk about something we've all probably thought about, maybe even worried about. You're cruising at 35,000 feet, and suddenly there's a medical emergency. We've all seen it in the movies, right? But what actually happens? Let's get into it.
Is there a doctor on board? Yeah, it's that classic line. It's the phrase every passenger kind of holds their breath over. But here's the thing, when that call goes out for real, it's not the total chaos you might be picturing. It actually kicks off a super coordinated procedure.
So let's set the scene. The cabin lights are low, you hear that steady hum of the engines. You're maybe hours into a long flight. Everything is totally normal until it isn't. And just like that, the calm is gone. A passenger needs help. And in that instant, the cabin crew switches gears. They go from being service professionals to literal first responders. This is exactly what all their training is for, and it kicks in immediately. Now, you might think there'd be panic, but there isn't. There's a protocol, a really simple but super effective three-word mantra that guides every single thing they do next. Okay, so this system, it's called Check, Call, Care. And it's methodical, it's fast. First up, check. They've got to figure out what's going on. Are you all right? Where's the pain? Simple questions. Then, call. This means grabbing the first aid kit right away and letting the flight deck know exactly what's happening. And finally, care. This is where their first aid training comes in, giving water, cleaning a wound, whatever is needed. Every single step is designed to be as effective as possible, to save a life.
And let's be clear, we're not just talking about a little first aid kit with some band-aids and aspirin. No way. These onboard medical kits are serious business. They've got oxygen, stethoscopes, and maybe the most important tool of all, an automated external defibrillator, an AED. That thing is absolutely critical for cardiac emergencies.
Okay, so let's ramp this up a bit. What happens when it's not just a minor issue? What if you're talking about a real life or death crisis? Well, this is where the pressure gets intense. I mean, listen to this quote from a doctor. It's so honest it kind of hurts. If you're a doctor, your first instinct is to hide in the toilet. And you can see why, right? Just imagine it. You've got limited gear, you're in a tiny, cramped space, and literally hundreds of people are watching your every move. It's got to be a doctor's worst nightmare. But here's the thing. While a volunteer doctor might, hesitate for a second, and who could blame them? The crew doesn't. They can't. They are trained for this exact moment. Their job is to step up, take charge, and handle the whole situation like the pros they are, no matter how stressful it gets. So let's take a real-world example, something like a cardiac arrest. The coordination is just, wow, it's incredible. You'll have two flight attendants starting CPR almost instantly. Another one is getting the oxygen going. Meanwhile, the purser is on the line to the captain giving updates. Every single action is like a perfectly timed link in this chain of survival. All right, so at this point, with a patient in critical condition, the airplane itself basically becomes part of the ambulance. A huge decision has to be made, and there's no time to waste. Diverting a flight is a massive call to make. Think about it. It messes up schedules, hundreds of connections, and it can cost the airline a ton of money. But when you have a serious medical emergency unfolding, none of that matters. Not one bit. The only thing that's important is getting that one passenger to a hospital fast. And this is pretty cool. This is the actual script of what a captain might say. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a serious medical situation on board. You can hear how calm and direct it is, right? It's all about clearly explaining what's happening and why they need to make this unscheduled landing. And the second those wheels hit the tarmac, the handover begins. The emergency services, they're already there, waiting. They board the plane immediately to take over and get the patient to the hospital. Seriously, not a single second is wasted. So we've seen how crews handle these incredibly serious medical situations. But what happens when the reason for an emergency landing is, well, something you would never in a million years expect? Which brings up a really interesting question, doesn't it? Is every emergency a matter of life and death? We all just assume that when a plane diverts, it's for some super serious medical reason. But what if the emergency is a little less grim and a whole lot more weird? Well, believe it or not, sometimes the center of a full-blown divert the plane emergency is the engage sign on the lavatory door. Yeah, this is a true story. On a Cathay Pacific flight, not long after they took off, every single toilet on the plane got blocked. All of them. With hours still to go in the flight, you can imagine the chaos. The situation got so bad the captain had no other choice. They had to divert the whole plane. So what was the cause? Well, a quote from the airline pretty much says it all. It's what people flush. I mean, they find everything in those pipes: medicine bottles, socks, even kids' toys. These vacuum toilet systems are super delicate, and flushing the wrong stuff can, and in this case actually did, ground an entire airplane. So when you think about it, it really doesn't matter if it's a cardiac arrest or a, catastrophic toilet failure. The key takeaway is that the flight crew, both in the cabin and on the flight deck, they're the calm center in the middle of the storm. They are trained professionals who are ready to manage any kind of crisis, no matter how wild or unexpected it is. And it kind of leaves you with one last thought, doesn't it? The next time your flight gets delayed or diverted and you feel that frustration creeping in, just think about what could be happening behind the scenes. We almost never know the real story. It could be a life-saving medical drama, or it could be a rogue teddy bear. It definitely makes you think about all the crazy complexities of flying, that's for sure.